Srimati, you can start when you're ready.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swamiti Namne Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripapadayane Gaurakatha Dhamdaya Nagramatane Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyate Stane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We'll continue reading teachings of Lord Chaitanya. When we speak of non-Krishna, it does not mean that anything exists without Krishna. There cannot be anything non-Krishna because everything is a product of the energy of Krishna. And Krishna and his energies being identical indirectly, everything is Krishna. As an example, consciousness is common to every living entity. But consciousness, when it is purely centered on Krishna, when it is called Krishna consciousness, is pure, and consciousness, when it is other than Krishna consciousness or consciousness directed at sense gratification, is called non Krishna. So, in the polluted state, the conception of non Krishna comes, but in the pure state, there is nothing but Krishna consciousness. The active interest in Krishna, that Krishna is mine or I am Krishna's, and therefore my business is to satisfy the senses of Krishna, is a higher status than the Santarasha. Simply to understand the greatness of Krishna is to achieve that status of Santarasa, in which the worshipable object is the impersonal Brahman or Paramatma. This activity of worship of the impersonal Brahman and the Paramatma is the field of activities in empiric philosophical speculation and mystic yoga practice. But when one develops still further in Krishna consciousness or spiritual understanding, one appreciates that the Paramatma, the Supersoul, is the eternal worshipable object and he surrenders unto him. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Yes, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 19. After many births, after many births in worship of the Brahman and Paramatma, when one surrenders unto Vasudeva Paramatma as the Supreme Master and accepts oneself as eternally the servant of Vasudeva, he becomes a great transcendental realized soul. And at the time, on account of thick and thin relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, one begins to render some sort of transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, the status of Santarasha, neutrality, transforms into servitorship. It is called Dashyarasha. In the Dashyarasha status, the conception of the Supreme Lord is exhibited in the greatest quantity of awe and veneration. The greatness of the Supreme Lord is appreciated in Dasyarasha also. It is marked here that in the status of Santarasha, there is no spiritual activity of service, but in the status of Dashyarasha, the service begins. Therefore, in Dashyarasha, two qualities are there. This means the quality of the Santarasa and the consciousness of the transcendental taste of fraternity. The existence of the transcendental qualities of Santarasha and Dasharasha is certainly there. But beyond that, there is another equality, confidential attachment, which is pure transcendental love. This confidence in the Supreme Personality is technically known as Vishrambha. Okay. In that status of Vishrambha fraternity, there is no sense of awe or veneration toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As such, in the transcendental relationship of Sakhyarasa, there are three transcendental qualities: the sense of greatness, the sense of kinship, and the sense of intimacy, without any impression of or veneration. Therefore, in the relationship of fraternity, one transcendental quality is further increased. Okay. Similarly, in the status of parental affection, there are four qualities. Above the three qualities already mentioned, there is another sense of the devotee, that the Supreme Lord is dependent on the Supreme Lord is dependent on the mercy of the devotee. As parent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee also sometimes chastises the Supreme Personality of Godhead and considers him as maintained by such devotee. This transcendental sense of being the maintainer of the Supreme Maintainer is very much pleasing both to the devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord instructed Srila Rupa Goswami to write the transcendental literature named Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the science of devotional service, indicating therein the substance of the five transcendental relationships. It is explained there how the transcendental quality of Santarasa in the shape of unflinching faith in Krishna is further developed to the form of Dasharasha with the spirit of service, and then to Sakhyarasa for undeterred fraternity, and can be still more developed in the transcendental flavor of paternal love. With the sense of maintaining the Lord, all culminates in the highest platform of conjugal love, wherein all the different transcendental relationships exist simultaneously. Chapter 2. Sanatan Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a person in the lowest status of life can find direction in transcendental devotional service to the Lord. After Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order of life, sannyasa, he traveled all over India. During this period, he went to Malda, a district in Bengal, and in that portion of land, there is a village by the name Ramakeli. Two government ministers of the Nawab Hussain Shah's regime lived there, namely the Vikas and Sakar Malik, later renamed Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami. They had a chance to meet Lord Chaitanya, and after meeting him, they decided that they would retire from the government service and join his Sankirtan movement. The two brothers at once took steps to leave their material engagements and appointed two learned Brahmanas to perform certain Vedic religious rituals in order to achieve complete freedom for the devotional service of Krishna. These preliminary activities are known as Purashcharya. The ritual function of this process is that three times a day one has to worship and offer respects to one's forefathers, offer oblation to the fire, and respectfully offer foodstuffs to a learned Brahmana. Five items: the time, the worship, the offering of respect, the offering of oblation into the fire, and the offering of foodstuffs to a Brahmana comprise Purashcharya. In the Haribhakti Vilas, the directional authoritative book, these and other rituals are mentioned. After performance of these religious rituals, the younger brother Sakar Malik Rupa Goswami returned to his home with an immense amount of money, which he had acquired during his government service. The silver and gold coins he brought back filled a large boat. After arriving home, he divided the accumulated wealth first into two. and distributed one part to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Thus, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he distributed 50% of his accumulated wealth to persons engaged in the Supreme Lord's transcendental loving service. The Brahmanas are meant to understand the absolute truth, and therefore, when one is actually engaged in the loving service of the Lord, is called a Vaishnava. Both the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are supposed to be fully engaged in transcendental service. And Rupa Goswami, considering their important transcendental position, gave them 50% of his wealth. The balance was again divided into two. One part he distributed to his relatives or dependent family members, and the other he kept against personal emergency. Okay, I'll stop here and I'll just summarize what we read today. What I understood from today's reading is first we saw like there is nothing called like nothing exists without Krishna. So when Krishna consciousness and non-Krishna consciousness, consciousness means everything is centered. Krishna is at the center. And non-Krishna consciousness means when we engage in material activities like sense gratification without keeping Krishna at the center. Those two things we see first. Then we see like how Santa rasa, and in each rasa one quality is added. Santa rasa, first is Santa, then Dasya, then Sakhya, then Bhaschalya, and that is Madhurya. So Santa rasa, again when it like one quality is added, it becomes Dasya, like servitorship. We offer service to the Lord. Then what Santa, the qualities of Santa plus Dasya, and one more quality added, it gets becomes Sakhya Rasha. Then all the three qualities again exist in Bhaschalya Rasha, and one quality is added there. Then all the like four qualities in Madhurya Rasa, and one more quality is added to Madhurya Rasa. So Madhurya Rasa is like Vaschalya Rasa, we see how like the Lord is under the control of his. Lord is fully dependent on devotees. Like devotees think Lord is dependent on us. And there is exchange of love between love and devotees. That's Vaschalya Rasa. And then the highest is the Madhurya Rasa. Then we see like how we should learn a very beautiful thing from Srila Rupa Goswami, like how I think this is also very nicely described in Nectar of Devotion, that how Rupa Goswami teaches us how to use our money, the money we earn, how to utilize it. Instead of keeping everything with us, how we should use it, like equally distributed. So he earned so much of money, but he distributed it. He did not keep everything for himself. So 50% of his earning he gave to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, those who are always engaged in the service of the Lord. Then again, from 50%, half he distributed among the relatives, like who are in need of the money, and then the half he kept for himself. So it teaches us how to use our money. Yeah, so that's my understanding from today's reading. Is now we can go for the japa. Nikit, if you can say at the pranam mantras. Yeah, thank you. Srila Prabhupada Pranati. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachanane Vishesha Shunyavadi Pasyate Sthane. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Panchatattva mantra. Panchatattva Mahamantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advait, Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Thakur, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by his very confidential associates such as Sri Nityananda, Sri Gadadhara, and Sri Advaita, and by many devotees like Srivas. Lord Chaitanya is the most merciful incarnation of Sri Krishna, and his associates are even more merciful. They are always engaged in chanting the name of the Lord and are always describing Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The word Hara is the form of addressing the energy of the Lord, and the words Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing the Lord Himself. Both Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure, and Hara is the supreme pleasure energy of the Lord, changed to Hare in the vocative. The supreme pleasure energy of the Lord helps us to reach the Lord. These three words, namely Hare, Krishna, and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Maha Mantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and His internal energy, Hara, to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for his mother. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the grace of the Supreme Father, Hari or Krishna, and the Lord reveals Himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare